Today in Professor Kelly's Law 2 class, we did Fourth Amendment research using secondary sources, cases, and statutes. We put those things all together and started with some secondary sources, noticing that criminal law secondary has a lot of specialty titles, checklists, in-depth treatises, things like that. But Ohio secondary is a really good starting place because obviously the US Constitution applies in Ohio. So that's going to have a discussion of the federal sources at a really general level. Noticing that you could filter over here, which is one thing that you could do, or you could just run that plain language search here for something like validity of stop to investigate drunk driving. Right? Whenever we're looking for threshold inquiries, words like validity of or legality of are definitely tops. We can filter for Ohio specific sources and filter for texts and treatises, because texts and treatises are things like handbooks or practice guides. And you'll notice that Ohio practice, right, that second result here has an entire chapter about vehicle stops. And that is going to take us through, oh, what is a stop? Well, I don't know what that is. Determining the constitutionality of the stop, which is the first issue. What about the second issue? Maybe the ordering out of the vehicle. Maybe you have something that's part of that. Let's take a look here, because this whole section should take us through each of the steps that we would need to understand, right, that might be part of it. Because, yeah, that's pretty handy and nifty. Save things to folders. Over here, keeping in mind you want your subfolders, you can left click and drag to highlight, add notes, and highlighting issue 1 issue, issue 1 rule, issue 1 application, and so forth. Noticing as well is that in the footnotes, there are going to be citations to cases and statutes. So we've finished that secondary source pocket. Let's talk a little bit about the statute, the Fourth Amendment, right? And you can see it here within the US Constitution. You can use these options here to open up some of the parts, and keeping in mind that the reason the Fourth Amendment shows up in so many different sections is because of these notes of decisions. You can navigate through the sections with these section symbol arrows over here, but the notes of decisions give you the huge chain of common law decisions that can help you confidently draw the line and say, this is okay, this is not okay, this is out of the line, or the line is this tall, or it's this short. And you can see that for our second issue, if we didn't notice that the practice guide had something to address it, we could use the notes of decisions. You could see that, hey, exit vehicle is its own category, and there's a bunch of cases for it. Hit hierarchical view, by the way, if you don't see this looking pretty, because otherwise the list view, not so great. Notice as well that if you're really curious about some of this stuff over here, you've got some annotations, some West headnotes from the cases that talk about that. Within a case like Wilson, Robinette, Mims, those things are West headnotes that then you could use to build your argument for number 2. Last thing that we did, we pulled up Terry. We found Terry either in the stuff that your professor has already given to you or in a good secondary source, but from Terry, we used the West headnotes, right? And kept in mind that this stuff over here can take us to that portion of the case. So we know that this issue is about protective searches. That's what the second issue is, the pat down. And you could click on that to not only update your research, but also pull in precedents by clicking change from other jurisdictions. That West key number is like a hashtag for cases, connecting Terry to stuff that is way more recent in not only federal, but Ohio jurisdictions. Apply filters. Ta-da. That's pretty nifty, friends. Pretty nifty. Lastly, we looked at the folders and the research report. You need to be in a subfolder of some kind, and the research report button is over here. And this can really help you organize your research to meet with your professor, to argue a case. You can see here, issue 1 conclusion, issue 1 rule, the magic language of the case, along with the notes that you've made. Download, email, print, work with that, and use that to jumpstart your research. Plenty of other stuff I would love to talk with you about. Twitter at Lindy Hop Lawyer for in-person availability. Check out Westlaw Sam on the YouTubes for walkthroughs from other schools and other contexts. And just drop a line, because this is some fun stuff, and I hope that you will use it and master it. Thanks for watching.